All right, I think we're live. I think we are live, ladies and germs. I think so. We are live. Oh, the quality's not where I want it to be for some strange reason. Let's do that. I think that's better. Okay, just getting myself organized here, everybody. Let me go over to this screen here so I can... 1 second. You're good. Sounds good. Oh, yeah. People are like, sounds good, man. Sounds good. Okay, that's good. Good to hear. All right, let me just... what do I want to bring over there? Maybe I'll do... Okay. All right. I guess that's okay. Okay, so good. Hey guys, how are you guys doing? Now I put the link out there to everybody on Patreon. We have, of course, about 65 people that, in theory, could tune in, but that doesn't mean. Is there a bit of an echo? John Bruce says I enjoy a little echo. There's an echo? I hope not. Don't scare me like that, John. No? Okay, good. Just want to make sure. You know how I am with those echoes. Oh, okay, great. Yeah, no, I'm glad 14 people watching now. That's awesome. Like I said, I mean, in theory, we could have 65 people watching because there are 65 patrons. But maybe some people are busy right now. I know if you're on Eastern Standard Time, this is the dinner hour. I know if you're on Pacific Time, you're probably, at work. And of course, if you're overseas, you're probably in bed. But nonetheless, I do appreciate everybody who is tuning in live and those, of course, who will watch the feed afterwards, hopefully. So before I get to your questions, because this is our first Patreon-only live AMA, I do want to say, I don't know if anybody, it looks like I'm recognizing a lot of names, and it looks like everybody's from level number 3. I will put this out in a post on Patreon anyway. But I will say it here. For those that are subscribed to level number 2, I want you guys to know that I'm going to start to include you guys in the next Saturday movie night. Now, you won't be able to vote on the movie to watch. That will still be exclusive to level number 3. But I want to include level number 2 patrons as well into the live broadcast, which I think will be really cool. So if you're part of level number 2, you'll be able to watch the live broadcast whenever we do that next Saturday movie night. Right now, I'm only doing it once a month. I would like to do it maybe twice a month. What I'm thinking is probably going to happen is Saturday movie night will probably take over Thorazine. Now, I know you guys love Thorazine, but once the Halloween craze sort of dies down a bit, we'll probably drop Thorazine for a little bit, kind of see, until the Halloween craze kind of picks up again, because I have a feeling that, if this movie does well, which it probably will, maybe they'll do a sequel, and then Thorazine will kind of come back again. We'll kind of maybe send, kind of have them interchangeable, right? So we did Thorazine for like 5 or 6 months, and then we'll kind of put that over there, and then we'll bring, Saturday movie night in, so we can add an extra day for that, right? So we'll be doing that, say, maybe twice a month or something, right? And then once the Halloween shit begins to build up again, which it probably will, we'll bring sort of, the Thorazine back, or maybe we'll, I'll be able to juggle them simultaneously, or, we'll see how it goes, right? No promises yet, but that's where my thinking is, just to kind of see what happens. We'll probably do Thorazine for the rest of the year, though, because that's sort of, or at least through the month of November, because there'll be a lot to talk about in regards to the success of Halloween 2018, any potential sequel talk, where it's going to go, what's going to happen, what sort of remnants of information happens in the immediate aftermath of the release of the movie. So, but those kind of are where my thoughts are at the moment. So I just wanted to let you guys know that. Hey, we got 19 people watching. That's awesome. Welcome, everybody who's just joining us. If you're just joining us, I just want to say again, in regards to the Saturday movie night, if you're subscribed to level number 2 on my Patreon, I'm going to start to include you guys into the Saturday movie night as well. Now, you won't be able to vote on which movie you would like me to watch. That's still going to be exclusive to level number 3, but I want to bring you guys into the mix as well. So I think that's going to be fun. When that next Saturday movie night will be, I'm not entirely sure. But because October is going to be crazy busy, right? We got Thorazine tomorrow. No, sorry, on Saturday. We got Thorazine on Saturday. October, I'm going to be in LA for about 11 days because of the 40th anniversary convention. I got some work I'm doing out there. We got the movie that's dropping on the 19th. I got my review that, I'm trying to get up. So October is going to be crazy, but we'll see what happens nonetheless. So anyways, yeah, welcome guys. I really appreciate it. And the first thing I want to tackle here is a couple of questions that came in prior to the feed. And these questions are, let me just get to these questions here before we tackle it. Yeah, just keep in mind too, guys, before I do this. Again, I've only been doing the Patreon thing for about 3.5 months, right? So, this is going to constantly evolve and change. Perks are going to evolve. When something gets a bit stale and it's kind of, run its course, we'll try to figure out something and bring it in. If you guys have any ideas as well, don't be afraid to post them on the community page or message me directly on Patreon as well. Like if you're like, oh, that might be kind of a cool perk, let me know. Like I'm open to ideas, and then I can look at your idea and go, okay, will I be able to do this because of my schedule? We're doing this, we're fitting this in. Do you know what I mean? I want this to be very interactive as well. Can't promise that all your ideas will make it into the mix, but they're things that I definitely want you guys to feel that you're a part of the community, right? But the reason why I only do things once a month to kind of start or twice a month is because I don't want to set unrealistic expectations and get too far ahead of myself. I want to kind of try it out and ease into things because I'm still relatively new and I'm juggling a voiceover career at the same time as well. So, but I think you guys appreciate that. You know what I mean? To kind of, the lines of communication are always open. That's what I want. I want those lines of communication open so you're not always going, what the hell is going on? Like, for example, oh, what's his name now? Michael Magneto? Is that his name? I can't remember his name now. I think that's it. He sent me a message and was like, dude, I noticed my name was removed from the list at the end of your videos. Like, what happened? Like, is everything okay? And I'm like, oh, fuck, I didn't even know that. Because, new patrons are coming on. Old patrons are, going away, right? And his name was not there. So I was like, oh, thank you for telling me that. You know what I mean? We got to keep those communication lines open. So I quickly plopped his name back, and it wasn't personal. It was a completely innocent mistake, but that's the kind of thing I want, right? Is we're constantly sort of talking with each other, and it's going to be interesting to see where we are this time next year. That's going to be cool. Anyway, okay, got some questions going on there. Okay, first let me get to the two questions, or the couple of questions that were asked here. Okay, so this is Daniel Seeley, and he says, "Hey Dave, do you think behind Rocky legacy is Apollo? Think about it. Apollo gave him the title shot in the first 2 films, helped Rocky make his comeback in Rocky 3, and motivated Rocky to go after Drago in Rocky 4. Well, I think the byproduct of Apollo's death was the reason why Rocky went after Drago in Apollo 4. He really didn't want to have anything to do with him, and he didn't want Apollo to have anything to do with him. But because Apollo died, that was Rocky's motivation. So in some sort of indirect way, I guess. Oh, absolutely. Apollo is a huge part of Rocky Balboa's success. Absolutely, 100%. Yep, for sure. And he follows it up with, do you think Cobra has a Batman element to him? I'm assuming you're talking about not the G.I. Joe Cobra, but the Sylvester Stallone Cobra. Has a Batman element to him. Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of people in that vein that sort of have that Batman, calm, cool, collected, sweep in, sweep out, do your shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, I could totally see the parallel. Okay, and then... all right, we got Michael Martinez. Oh, no, that was the other one talking about the wondering where his Patreon name was. Lewis Weiser says, question, Do you know if there will be a one-sheet movie poster with credits and info on it for Halloween 2018, essentially is what he's talking about. We have 2 advance posters thus far. It used to be advance posters were the obscure ones. Today, with all the character versions, it's the official one-sheet. That's rare and hard to find. Yeah, it's a good question. I think you probably will be able to get maybe that poster back there with the credit information and the film information on it with, you know, the studios. Well, actually, the studio information is on there, but you want sort of, you know, the Halloween starring, written, produced, directed, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully, that would be nice to have. Yeah, because that sort of makes it official. It kind of feels nice. I wouldn't be surprised if you could get one down the road. Yeah, I'm hoping so. But why they haven't yet, you know what? Most people probably don't give a shit about it. You know, at the end of the day, I think there are certain people that really care about that kind of stuff, right? Because they care about the details. But legally, they probably don't have to release that, or they have to, but they can dance around certain times of when they can do that. Certainly, we know that poster is in the movie theaters as we speak right now. So obviously, you know, not really a big deal. The studio information probably has to be on it. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm hoping anyway that we'll be able to still get one. Okay, now let's move over. I think I answered the previous ones. Yeah, okay, let's move over to the live chat room here. I'm gonna move back a little bit and see what you guys are talking about. You guys are talking with each other. That's good. I'm going to be at work tomorrow during Thorazine. No, Thorazine's not tomorrow. Thorazine is Saturday. Thorazine is Saturday. Yeah, so you'll be good. Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Guillermo Medina. Hey, Team McRae. Member checking in. All right, Guillermo, welcome. David Ferguson, what about doing a Star Wars themed Thorazine next year? Ooh, that's a good idea. What about doing a Star Wars themed Thorazine next year on the run up to episode 9? Maybe call it Death Sticks. Yes, I like that. That's a great suggestion. I didn't even think about that. I've been so busy with all the Halloween shit that and because the news has been sort of, you know, very far and few between in regards to episode 9 of Star Wars, I didn't even think about that. Now, I do have to say this. I consider myself a hardcore Star Wars fan, but what a hardcore Star Wars fan in 2018 is not what it was like 20 years ago. Like, for me, Star Wars is the original trilogy, the prequels, I guess, you know, and knowing a bit about essentially the movies, right? And I don't know anything about the books and the comics and the extended universe or the expanded universe. Like, I'm not like neck deep into the lore and the history and this means this and that means that. So like I am with Halloween. So it would be very sort of, focused on kind of what we know about the movies and what we sort of know at the surface level, like diving deep into the Old Republic and all this kind of stuff. And like, I'm not Collider Jedi Council. Let's put it that way. Okay. I saw that show. I've just been introduced to that show, I guess, within the last year. And I've watched a few episodes because it's kind of interesting. And they're like, they live and breathe that stuff. You know, they talk about shit I haven't even heard of. So, I'm not like that, but I like your idea of doing a Star Wars themed sort of show, you know, for maybe an hour or so, a couple times a month, maybe leading up to the release of the movie. Maybe when things start to get hot, like maybe around April when maybe we get a trailer or, you know, kind of maybe go live with it then right up to the lead up to Christmas. That's not a bad idea, David. I'll put that on the list to think about. We'll see if we can work something in like that. I like that. See, I like this. I like this open communication that we guys have and any suggestions that you guys kind of want to put in there too. Good stuff, guys. Okay. Eric Kaslov says, hey, Dave, how does it feel to be the top pimp in all of Canada? Top pimp in all of Canada. Well, Canada has, you know, close to 40 million people. There's got to be somebody else here that's a top pimp. A pimp of some kind. Rich Moore is in the house. I saw that too, but no biggie. He's referring to something, I guess. Nathan Oswald, what are you expecting with Creed 2? Oh, great question. Well, what I'm expecting from Creed 2 is I really enjoyed the first Creed. I don't think Sylvester Stallone gets the credit he deserves in terms of his, I mean, I'm not saying he's De Niro, but I think he's a far better actor than people give him credit for. I think he does, at least he plays, he knows the character of Rocky so well. He was Rocky. We forget that he wrote that script on a notepad in, you know, however long it took. I mean, he was down on his luck. He had to sell his dog. We all know the story. And he knows that character so well that when he plays him, he's been playing him for over 40 years. When he plays him, he becomes him. And to see the transition from Rocky, from low to high to low again. I know the actress that played Adrian was not happy about her character being killed off at first, anyway. And I thought it was a brilliant move. Yeah, absolutely. You had to show that progression of life. You know, it's reality. Shit happens. Anyway, but to answer your question, the point I'm making is that I really loved seeing him where he was, not only in Rocky Balboa in 2006, but in Creed as well. My worry is that I know that, you know, we're going to see Drago or Drago, I should say, Drago, and Rocky come face to face, right? That's the nostalgia. That's the era we're in now. We're going to see that. But I don't want Creed 2 to be about that. When you have Creed, who's going to be fighting Drago's son, it's kind of like, there's a fine line that you could go overboard. I mean, you could make this movie and this story go a little too about, all of a sudden it's about Drago and Rocky again. It's kind of like, you know what I mean? Because he's fighting Drago's son. So there's that shadow that from, you know, the previous film, Rocky IV, I mean, that is always kind of there looming in this sequel. And we want this to be its own identity. This is a sequel to Creed. We want, you know, Adonis Creed, right? Is that his name? Adonis, I think. We want him to stand on his own. That doesn't mean that there's not parallels or moments that you throw in for that. Fuck yeah, that's awesome. But you still want it to be a sequel to Creed. So my only concern is that all of a sudden it feels like it's Rocky IV Part 2. And that's not really what I want. I want this to be Creed 2. You know what I mean? That's my only worry with it, because of the fact that he's fighting his son, it could go that direction really quickly if you're not careful. So we'll see what happens, but I'm excited for it because I really enjoyed the first one. And I thought Stallone knocked it out of the fucking park, as did Michael B. Jordan. But that would be my concern. Great question. Michael Martinez! Yes, we were just talking about you, about how your name disappeared from the card, and I had to get your name back in there, and I used that message that you sent out to me as an example of keeping those, you know, lines of communication open, which is great because, you know, I want you guys to feel comfortable, you know, that we can communicate. Now, always remember, if I don't get back to you right away, or, you know, within a couple of hours, don't fret, I will get back to you. It's just I'm in the middle of a voiceover session, or I'm on the road, or, you know, whatever the case is, right? But I will get back to you. Okay, scrolling down here. Frank Riker says, what do you think about Universal bringing back their monsters for remakes? You know what? I kind of like it. I wouldn't mind seeing a modernized version of the Wolfman, Frankenstein, you know, Dracula, the Mummy. Yeah, I'd love to see it. But, of course, they tried to do that with the Mummy with Tom Cruise, and it was a total shit show. And the problem with movies like that is that they were B movies in their infancy. They were always B movie. I mean, they were B movies back then too, really, in some ways. They were kind of hoaxy and kind of not hoaxy, hokey and fun, and I would like to take that but modernize that a little bit. With The Mummy, they made it a bona fide modern-day blockbuster, and it was kind of like, this is not The Mummy. Like, this is not... I know they did it with What's-His-Face in 1999 as well, and it was relatively successful, but that was a different era. That was, an era when this new technology, the CGI, these wild special effects were still relatively new and exciting to go and see. Now we've been desensitized to it. I would love to see them bring a modernized version of those classic monsters, yes, but keep it simple, keep it B-movie-like still. Maybe some independent low-budget companies like Blumhouse. I'm not saying Blumhouse, but I'm saying like Blumhouse or A24 or, somebody that can make a really good, scary movie, low budget, but modernized. It doesn't feel cheap or amateur or home movie-like, but they can, maybe they can get their hands, on something like that. They can work with Universal, like how Blumhouse is working with Universal right now in terms of the new Halloween, right? Maybe they can bring somebody on and kind of keep it simple, like scary, but simple, you know? I just think that I saw that Tom Cruise, I didn't see the movie, I saw the trailer. And the trailer didn't interest me at all. I was like, this just looks, like, I get why you want to do that, but it kind of loses its charm of what these monster movies were, if you know what I mean. So that would be my thought on that. Good question. Whether you agree or not, I don't know. Okay, Michael Martinez says, hey, Dave, ever hear of Handy Boy Mask Maker? He specialized on Michael Myers masks. Handy Boy Mask Maker. That's not, who's the guy that does that? His name. I might know his name. Nathan Oswald says, after re-marathoning the Halloween films, I now hate Halloween 5 more than Resurrection. Yeah, I can understand that. Rich Moore says, I was referring to the Patreon credits. My name slipped away on the last two. It did? Really? It did? That's so weird. Thank you for telling me. You should have told me, Rich. Okay, let me, that's so weird. Let me, I got the card up here. I believe I got the card up here. Let me bring that card up here. That shouldn't happen. I wonder why it's doing that. Let me see. Yeah, anytime that you guys notice something like that, let me know right away, because what's happened is my assistant sometimes is moving things around and adjusting. People will, and sometimes accidentally, of course, people will get left off. It shouldn't be like that. For the most part, it doesn't happen, but every now and then it does. Let me see here. Rich Moore, looking here, Rich Moore. Yeah, I don't see your name. That's so strange. Oh, that's Rory Moore. Yep, you're right. Okay, well, your name will be added back. Very good. Thank you for saying that, Rich. Let's get your name in there right now. Okay, here we go. I can do this because I have access to it. There you go. Your name is back in there, buddy. You're good to go. All right. Yeah, anytime you see that, guys, at the end, like, what's going on? Let me know. Absolutely. You have earned to be there. So don't be like, oh, I guess. No, you let me know. You've earned the right to be there. And you're paying, of course, too, right? And that's part of your subscription. So always let me know that. We just got to keep these lines of communication open. Okay, Lewis Stevens says, I hope this film will be the close of the close of the Michael Myers saga. The unto some cool special edition director's cut Blu-ray release next year at some point. Be great for now. Yeah, that would be cool. I always like when studios put out good Blu-rays or good DVDs. Back in the day, DVDs, right? But good stuff. Nowadays, it's so... it used to be that you would pick up a Blu-ray and it would have everything on it, but now they'll release a Blu-ray, then they'll release a steel case, then they'll release a special edition, and you got to spend like $40 to get all the juicy shit. I get it, it's a business, but yeah, even the bad movies, like even the Star Wars prequels had some of the best special features I've ever seen. Some of the best behind-the-scenes shit, full-on documentary, going into detail. It was great shit. It's great stuff. Okay. John Bruce says, hey Dave, if you hadn't already watched the new Halloween, how surprised would you be at the 84% on Rotten Tomatoes? I can't answer that. I love how people are being inconspicuous. See, how surprised would you be at the 84% Rotten Tomatoes? How surprised would you be? Let me just say this. As I said in a video that I uploaded a little while ago, I will say that if somebody had asked me a long time ago, what would you like to see from a Rotten Tomatoes score on Halloween 2018, I said in a video last week, and I'll say it here, I think anything 60% and above, I think would be really good. And I know that's like, well, that's only 60%. Yeah, but this is a horror movie. Okay, this is a Halloween horror sequel, right? It's like, that's good. The fact that it has 84% on Rotten Tomatoes, that's amazing, right? That's amazing, right? Now, keep in mind how Rotten Tomatoes works is that means 84% of the people gave it a 6 or higher, okay? And what was that? 16% of the people gave it a 5 or lower. That's how it works, okay? So keep that in mind. Okay. Let's see here. Rich Moore says, my question is, what type of work were you doing before the voiceover career took off? And was it difficult to let that part of your work life go? No, before that, I've been doing this a long time. I've been part of the entertainment industry for 17 years now, since 2001. And before that, I was in college. I studied radio, television, and film. I never graduated because there was just so much. I obviously people do graduate from the program I was in, but for me, it was just how I work, how I operate, there was just so much I was taking on. I was doing radio and TV and film, broadcast journalism, broadcast management, there were all these, electives you have to take as well to go inside, all that kind of stuff. So I just didn't graduate. I left after my second year. And I jumped right into on-camera acting, and I was pursuing an on-camera acting career. And then I broke my teeth playing road hockey, typical Canadian, right? Up in Ottawa, Canada, which is our capital, which is where I grew up. That's where I went to high school. I was playing some road hockey on a nice fall evening with a bunch of buddies, and I got a stick to the face and had to put my on-camera acting career on hold, so I just made the transition into voiceover, and I never looked back. And I've always been good because people often forget that having a good voice for voiceover helps, but this is voice acting. It's not really about the voice you have, it's about how good of an actor you are. And that's why I tell people who are looking to get into voiceover for the first time, I say, take an acting class. Learn the art of acting and character performance, because you are acting. You're always playing some sort of fictional character of yourself, right? So, at the very least, I mean. So, yeah, that's sort of what it was. And then I went full-time voiceover in 2006. So I've been doing this, for 17 years professionally and full-time since 2006. So, but before that, I was in college and I had some, retail jobs. I worked at Walmart for 2 years. I worked at Rogers Video here in Canada, which is like a Blockbuster. Worked there for 2 years. But I was always making movies, and I worked at a movie theater for 2 years, and yeah. So, in a nutshell, that's sort of what I was doing prior. Tabitha McCauley is in the house. Tabitha says, what's your opinion on Hugh Jackman no longer playing Logan in the X-Men series? Hey, great question. Yeah, I think it's time. I mean, I think he can still continue to play him. He's fit. He's in great shape. He's late 40s. It's not like he's, 80. But I understand that he probably wants to do other things. I've said this, and I don't think it's too late. When thinking about recasting Indiana Jones, I know they probably want to go younger. Harrison Ford, but see, Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark came out in 1981. Harrison Ford would have been 39 in 1981. They probably would have shot it in 80, so he's 38. So Harrison Ford was probably about my age. I'm 39. So he was probably about my age when he was shooting the very first Indiana Jones movie. So Hugh Jackman's probably about, 10 years older than that. But I to this day think Hugh Jackman would have made a great Indiana Jones. Everybody's like, what about Chris Pratt? What about fuck Chris Pratt? The only reason why people are saying Chris Pratt is because he shot onto the scene because of Guardians in the Galaxy and Jurassic World, and because somebody happened to Photoshop his face onto Harrison Ford's body in a still promotional image of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. And people were like, whoa, I could totally say, you know how many people I could do that with? Well, Chris Pratt will make a great Indiana Jones. Chris Pratt is too jockey. He's too college frat boy. I'm not saying he's not a good actor, but his Guardians of the Galaxy roles and his role on The Office, was it, or whatever, and, it's not, I'm not convinced. Hugh Jackman has the wit, has the charisma, has the physique. Not saying that Chris Pratt doesn't have that, but Chris Pratt is more college frat boy in that way. He has all those things too, but he's got it in a sweet, college frat boy fraternity sort of way, in my opinion. Whereas Hugh Jackman has it in a man's kind of way. You know what I mean? He's like a dude. He's a man. He's got that manly kind of thing about him that you got with Harrison Ford. And I think Hugh Jackman would have made a great Indiana Jones. Fantastic. Is it too late? Maybe. now, maybe, but I think he would. I could totally. That's my opinion. And I don't say that lightly because Harrison Ford is my favorite actor of all time. Don't think he's the best actor of all time, but I have loved Harrison Ford since I was 5. He's my man. He is my fucking, yes, he's my favorite actor. So I don't say that lightly. But that is somebody that I think could have given justice to the Indiana Jones character. Yeah, that's my opinion. But great question. But yeah, no, to answer your question, I think it's, I still think he could play Wolverine, but I understand why he wants to move on, right? He's entering a different phase of his life now. Once an actor, men always can last longer than women, unfortunately, because of the perception of women in Hollywood and the perception of how, you know, a lot of them are sexualized and used because of their looks and, you know, this kind of stuff. And as women grow older, it's more difficult to get roles. It's just a sad reality of the business, unfortunately. And that's why it's so important to establish yourself as a female actress who's not reliant on her looks. You may be beautiful and you may be really hot and attractive. Good shit. Do you know what I mean? Oh, there we go. I think we're back. Are we back? I think we're back. I think we are back. Sorry about that, guys. Are we back? Are we back now? Oh, wait. There we go. I think we're back. Okay. I think so. Oh. Back. We're back? Okay. We are back. Okay, good. Sorry about that, guys. Technology, eh? Okay, what was I saying? Yes, I was saying that, you know, with men, they can last longer in certain roles because of the perception that we have of men in, you know, I'm talking generally, right? In the traditional sort of sense. So, you know, but he's entering that phase now in his late 40s, beginning his early 50s, where he's going to start, you know, his career is going to start to kind of take a different turn. He probably wants to do other things, you know, like Daniel Craig with James Bond, right? You know, but great question though. Great. I mean, we could talk about this for hours, go really deep into it, but great question. Okay, let's move on here. Okay. Dave, name is Nick Malpagnet. Oh, yeah. Yes. I'm familiar with who he is. Yeah, I've never spoken to him, never talked to him, but I know who he is, and he makes a lot of Michael Myers masks, I think, right? Yeah. I know the name, though, for sure. Okay, Nathan Oswald says, do you know anyone that voices Paw Patrol in Ontario? It's my little brother's favorite show. Is Paw Patrol Canadian? Let me see here. Paw Patrol. I remember Paw Patrol. Oh, isn't that cute? Paw Patrol. It is Canadian. Let me see if I know some of the voices of Jason Mercy, Drew Davis, Justin Kelly, Samus, Thorne, names don't ring a bell. I don't know the names. They don't ring a bell. Well, Justin Kelly kind of does. Yeah, the names off the top of my head don't ring a bell. But that doesn't mean that I won't know their faces. That's cool though. Yeah, Paw Patrol is great. A great show. Yeah. But no, I don't, not off the top of my head. Not off the top of my head. S. Mitchell says, ahoy, Dave. How do you know William Reel? And do you know what he is up to now? I thought he was great in your fan film. Well, he is a very good friend of my friend Bruce. And Bruce Dale is our mutual friend. And I've known Bruce for 26 years. He's my best friend. And we grew up together. We met in grade school. And Bruce works in the film industry as well here in Toronto. And Bruce met William, or Bill, in 2001, I think it was, when Bill had his own business in Mississauga, which is a city outside of Toronto. And that's where I met him. I met him through my friend Bruce. And I cast Bill in The Night He Came Back because I thought he looked like he could feasibly be a 45, 46-year-old Brian Andrews, Tommy Doyle, right? I'm like, oh my God, like I totally can see it. Like I could totally buy that this is that kid 40 years later. So that's why I did that. And he was like, yeah, I'll do it. And he was great. He's great. Yeah, Bill's great. Will Myers is in the house. What do you think of the new reissue of the Halloween 2 soundtrack? I saw the. Are you talking about the vinyl cover? I saw the vinyl cover, but I haven't heard it yet. I haven't actually heard it, so I can't answer whether or not it sounds okay. But I did see the cover. I thought the cover was. I didn't like the mask they used. I thought the mask looked like. I don't know. It just didn't look like the mask at first glance. Anyway, good question. Yeah, the vinyl cover. Yeah, I like some of it, but there's the mask I wasn't crazy on. I like the Steelbook of Halloween 2. Oh, was the Steelbook or a different cover that they were going to release a few months ago or something? That looked awesome. The one where it showed Michael coming down the hallway with the fire and Jamie Lee's, like that against the cabinet or something. Do you know the one I'm talking about? That was amazing. I love that. I would love to be able to get my hands on that. John Messiter is in the house. Hugh should do the Benny Hill biopic. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah, that's not bad. Alternative FM says, hey, Dave, hope you're well. What do you think of the Blade Runner 2049? I love it, but can't decide if I liked it better than the original. You know what? I haven't seen Blade Runner 2049 yet, and I love the original Blade Runner. It's just one of those movies that, you know how it's like, you have to see it. You want to see it. You had every intention on going to see it in the theater, but you never got around to it. Like, just because of things that happened, you just never got around to it. So I still have to see it. So I'm not sure, but I really love the original. And it took me a while to warm up to the original as well, because I first watched it when I was a kid, and Blade Runner's deep. A lot of symbolism, a lot of deep narrative there. And when you're like a 12 or 13-year-old kid, it can be perceived as boring and kind of just, because Harrison Ford was my favorite actor and it was a movie of his I hadn't seen. I'm watching it and I'm like, I grew to appreciate it as I got older. Same thing with 2001, right? I first watched that when I was a kid, like 10, 11. Or maybe I was a bit older, 12, 13. And the first 10 minutes of that movie is, a bunch of apes just, and it's, you're 12 and you're like, you don't understand the deep symbolism, the deep-seated shit that's going on here, right? As you get older, you're like, oh, I totally get and you appreciate it that much more and you realize the genius of certain films and stories. So, yeah. So I still got to watch it. Okay. Tabitha McCauley says, Dave, do you post your own tweets and respond to fans, or does your assistant do that? No, I post my own tweets. I do, yeah. I'm trying to get more... I'm trying to remember I have Twitter. I just crossed 1,000 Twitter followers now, which is really cool. I'm trying to remember to tweet more. Some people have asked, do you have Instagram? And I don't have Instagram. It's not that I will never have Instagram, but I don't have it right now because I'm trying to, I'm somebody that's really all about quality rather than quantity. I've always been that way. And Twitter has that reputation of, you have to tweet a lot in order to get followers and in order to keep your followers. And I'm like, do people really know that I'm having Cheerios for breakfast? Care? Like, do people really care that I'm having Do people care that I just got out of the shower? Do people care that... do you know what I mean? So it's taken me a while to find my place and sort of really tweet things that I find that my followers will find interesting, right? And so that's kind of, I'm still getting my feet wet with this social media thing, and I'm doing the best I can, and I will get Instagram eventually once I feel that I've got the hang of that I can do. Oh yeah, I got to remember, I have to tweet that. Oh, I got to put that on Facebook. Oh, I got to put that on Instagram. Oh, I got to put that on YouTube. Oh, God. Takes a while, right? My assistant is helping me do a good job with that, but she's taken on more work now too, right? Because before it was just all about the voiceover and my scheduling for that, and now she's taken on this, and she's doing a great job. But we're still trying to get the hang of things and trying to juggle. But so far, so good. I think we're doing all right. Instagram is better than Twitter. That's what I hear. So it's coming. But I mean, I apparently had 2 Instagram accounts that I wasn't even aware of, and I had like 400 or 500 followers. I'm like, that's not even me. So I had to tell Instagram to remove it because the last thing I wanted was this person. I was flattered, but all it would have taken was them to post something like racist or horrible, and people would have thought it was me, right? So I was like, oh, no. Like, I'm flattered, but I want to be in charge of my accounts. Like, you guys, So I had to tell them to take it down, and they did very fast. I was very impressed. Okay, David Ferguson says, I keep hearing rumors of an Escape from New York remake. If they do decide to remake it, who do you think should play Snake? Oh, yeah, I think Charlie Hunnam. Oh, Hunnam. Charlie Hunnam would be a excellent choice. Charlie Hunnam. I've heard that name. Why do I know that name? It's so hard to tell. Yeah, Escape from New York was good. Escape from LA wasn't that great. I guess you kind of have to think of who's got a Kurt Russell vibe nowadays. Or who can you see in that role and buy it? But then again, are they bringing it in, are they going to bring it into the 21st century like they did with Mad Max? Or like right there, you could look at, who's the guy that played Mad Max? What's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. What the hell is his name? Somebody will tell me there. Tom Hardy, thank you. When you think of Tom Hardy, you think of, that's in my opinion, you go, I could, I'm not saying Tom Hardy should play him. I'm just saying that kind of guy could play Snake. Do you know what I mean? Like if somebody was, to say, what about Bradley Cooper? I'd be like, nah, no, he's too mainstream. He's too, not that Kurt Russell isn't mainstream, but do you know what I mean? Like there's an edge to an actor in a certain role that you could see playing that role. So, Sons of Anarchy. Oh, okay. Let me just, let me see if I get a face for him. Charlie, yeah, okay. Yeah, I know the actor you're talking about. Yeah, somebody who's not, you definitely don't want somebody who's really well known, who's polished, pristine. Bradley Cooper is becoming, he's a great actor. I'm not taking anything away from Bradley Cooper, but he's becoming a little too polished. You know what I mean? It would be like casting Leonardo DiCaprio as Snake. It's like, could he do it? Yeah, he probably could do it, but he's almost too, it's Leo. You know what I mean? Like you want somebody who's a little kind of rough around the edges in terms of their career too, Yeah, interesting. I like that question. The remake, I don't know. I could see them doing it. They definitely, and the modern effects would definitely be off the chain, as they say nowadays. I'm told that's a thing now, off the chain. Anyway, Steve Mather says, "Hi Dave, what's your take on An American Werewolf in London? It's one of my favorite." Oh, I haven't seen that. You know what? I have this feeling I saw that in the drive-in as a kid in the 80s. I just have this, I know I saw Gremlins at the drive-in. I know I saw Back to the Future at the drive-in. And I think I saw American Werewolf in London at the drive-in as a kid. I just have this recollection of seeing it at the drive-in. But maybe it wasn't. Maybe we saw it on TV in the 80s or rented it, or I'm not sure. But I haven't seen it in years. That's a movie that I want to see again. I want to see that. That's a movie that I would love to see that again. I haven't seen it in so long, but I remember as a kid liking it, liking the transition when he transitions into the werewolf. And of course, it's all practical effects. Oh, fuck, I'm spitting like a madman here. That's what happens when you talk for an hour. It was all practical effects. So it was really cool to see that transition, right? And when you watch it now, like you can YouTube it now, right? When you watch it, there's a charm to it. It's cool. Of course, it's dated, but it's fun. You know what I mean? Great question. I totally forgot about that movie. Yeah, I got to see that again. To Leo. He's Leonardo DiCaprio. Legitimately is one of my favorite actors working today. He will go down as one of the greats. Right up there with your De Niro's, your Bogarts, of course, he is a modern day actor like that. But I don't know if that role is suited for him, if you know what I mean. It's almost, he's too well known now for that kind of a role. That's just my opinion. But he's great. If you guys haven't seen This DiCaprio role, in my opinion, is one of his greatest. Revolutionary Road with Kate Winslet. If you guys haven't seen that movie, he's amazing in that film. One of my favorite DiCaprio films, and it's always under the radar. Not a lot of people have seen it. Not a lot of people know about it. 2008, I think it is. One of my favorites by him. Fantastic performance. Like, just... the guy's incredible. The guy should have 6 Oscars on his mantle right now. All right, Solid Nefarious says, I'm surprised John Carpenter, The Thing, never got a sequel. Prequel was horrible. Well, you have to remember when The Thing came out in 1982, I think it was, it wasn't a success. It only gained sort of cult status well after the fact on VHS, on television. You know, it began a cult following. But it wasn't a success. It wasn't a critical success either. I don't think it was back in the day. I stand to be corrected on that, but I think it was received very, and it certainly didn't do anything at the box office. Now, of course, on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a very good score, I believe. But I think that's like well after the fact, right? Because you have to remember, Rotten Tomatoes was not around. Yeah. No, sorry. It's 83% on Rotten Tomatoes. But you have to remember that 83% is only because Rotten Tomatoes is around now, right? Like when we look at the Rotten Tomatoes score for The Thing, and we look at the reviews for The Thing, the reviews come in 2011, 2007, 2004, 2006, 2017, 2017, 2017, 2017, right? So you have to keep in mind that these reviews are coming well after people started to appreciate it. I can tell you right now, if Rotten Tomatoes existed in 1982, which is when The Thing came out, I believe, right? I gotta make sure I got that right. 1982. That movie would not have gotten 83%. It wouldn't have. It was not a success back then. Was not a success. So it doesn't surprise me that there was no sequel to it. Same thing with Big Trouble in Little China. Great movie. I just watched that again a couple of months ago. Hadn't seen it in years. It's dated, right? But it's fun. I remember it's like, oh, this is kind of fun. You know, I enjoyed it. Same reason it didn't get it, because it didn't do well. The Thing and Big Trouble in The Thing and Big Trouble in Little China were the two movies that really put a stain on the studio system and Hollywood for John Carpenter. Those two movies should have been box office successes. Should have done well. Okay, I'm not saying they necessarily should have competed with the other bigger films that came out in their respective years, but they should have done better than they did. And John Carpenter, it left a bad taste in his mouth. Especially after Big Trouble in Little China. He was like, fuck this. Like, fuck. And then he went back to doing a little, more smaller shit. Yeah. All right. Frank Riker says, will there be a Halloween on Broadway? Michael's singing debut is all breathing. That would be funny. You could totally do something like that. That would be fun. You make it a very interactive experience for the audience. I know you were just sort of being facetious, but I could totally see it. You make it very interactive, so the audience is part of it. It's like a show that you would experience at Universal or, Disney World, right? It's very interactive. Like, you sit in the audience and there's the set and Michael comes down, the aisle or something, or things go dark and you get sprayed with blood, but it's really water, right? Or they make it like, you could totally do it. Oh yeah, you could. Whether it would have long-term success on Broadway, probably not. It's not fit for that market. That it would be more of a Universal Studios kind of ride, or a show, that would be fun. I'd be down for that. All right. John Bruce says Revolutionary Road is really good. Yeah, it is. It is really good. It's a good film. Lewis Stevens says The Howling 1981 was the coolest. Saw it at the Ritz back then. Oh, The Howling. Is that the one on the cover? Oh, you hang on. The cover, it's got like a elongated The Howling. I want to see The Howling. Yes, it is that cover. That's what I was thinking. Remember I went like this? It was, yeah, yes, I remember. Yes, I remember. I haven't seen The Howling in so long. A lot of these movies, I remember walking into the video store as a kid and seeing all of these posters on the wall, like the Fright Night poster with the face in the clouds above the house, like that. That stuck out to me as a kid. I didn't see the movie as a kid. I only watched it like when I was a teenager. But as a child going into the store, that poster, I always remember thinking, wow, that's so cool, They don't make fucking posters like they used to, man. They just don't. All right, we'll go another 10 minutes here. I appreciate everybody who's tuned in for our very first patron-only live AMA. This is kind of cool. Hopefully we've got a few members from the level 1 and 2 that have been able to join us. If not, hopefully they'll be able to watch the broadcast after the fact, because the link will still be there on the Patreon page. It's only for you guys, but it'll be there for them to access. Okay. David Ferguson says the special effects on The Thing 1982 have stood the test of time. They have. Oh yeah. It's sort of like they're coming back. I've noticed that what's happened is that because of what happened with Jurassic Park, in the early to mid 90s, we were getting really into the CGI. And we got to a point where if you were watching movies in the mid 90s, big blockbuster films that use a lot of CGI, you would look at it and you would suddenly go, oh, those practical effects from the 70s and the 80s look so cheesy now. Do you know what I mean? But then CGI sort of jumped the shark a bit, and it got too much where they were using it for everything, and we started to suddenly notice the cracks in a lot of CGI, because CGI, they've mastered it when it comes to like Transformers or robots or technical or dinosaurs, but there's some things they still haven't mastered, like CGI sharks and water and planes, and it's just certain things where we started to notice the cracks, and we started to look back at the practical effects and all of a sudden go, oh, you know what? Those really do look good because it's tangible. It's synthetic. Sorry, not synthetic. It's organic. It's tangible. It's organic. We feel like we can get our hands on it. It looks real. You know what I mean? So it's almost like we've gone full circle. It was kind of cheesy at first, but now we appreciate it more because the CGI has sort of jumped the shark a bit in some cases. I agree with you. There's a lot of movies I watch from the 80s and I'm like, looks really good. But if I had watched that movie in the 90s, I would have been like, it looks kind of cheesy. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have a different perspective on it now. We've come to appreciate it again. And I agree with what you said. Okay, I was going to take this off and it's already off. Okay, just scrolling back here. Tabitha McCauley says, please don't remake Escape from New York. Yeah, there's a lot of movies that you don't need to remake. Especially when the story's really good. I understand the attractive lure to want to make a movie that's older, especially when you look at it and you go, oh, we could do it so much better now. But the question is that filmmakers have to ask themselves, what does that mean? What do you mean by that? You can tell the story better now, or you can do the effects better now. Those are two different questions, ladies and gentlemen. Now, that doesn't mean that if you can do the effects better now, you don't do it. You don't remake the film. But you have to compartmentalize those two different questions, because sometimes stories don't need to be retold. They're great as they are. Does The Shawshank Redemption... Okay, this is a bit of a bad example because it's not like there was anything, any wild effects in the movie, but... when you have a movie like The Shawshank Redemption, you don't need to tell... That's a story that will stand the test of time. 40 years from now, they'll be watching that 1994 movie, and it's going to look like an old movie. We'll be on to VR by then. We'll be fucking part of movies then. Movie theaters will have changed. We'll be wearing goggles, and we'll be like in the movie, with the actors being a part. That's what's going to fucking come, man. And you'll be watching this thing on an old thing, it's a Shawshank, but the story stands the test of time. It's a bit of a bad example, like I said, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. So, as a filmmaker and as a fan too, you have to ask that question: can we tell the story better than we did in 1983 or 2 or whatever Escape from New York came out? Or do we just want to remake it because we can do the effects better? Okay, well, that doesn't mean you don't remake it, but just like own it. Own it. Yeah, no, we're just remaking it because we can do all the explosions better. It's like, okay, well, fine then. And that doesn't mean they're not going to do the story justice. They're going to do the best they can with it. But let's be truthful of why you're really remaking it. Do you know what I mean? Like, come on, right? That's how I feel about that. Okay, scrolling down. Michael Martinez says, hey, Dave, ever see Student Body's horror slapstick 1981? I haven't, but I think I do know the movie you're talking about. I haven't seen it, though. Student Bodies. 1981. Ah, that poster looks familiar. I haven't seen it, but now I want to see it. I love watching those old 80s horror cheese. Oh, I love that stuff. It's great stuff. Tabitha McCauley says, if anyone remakes The Shawshank Redemption, they should be shot. Yes, they should. That and The Green Mile. Frank Riker says, how about Horror High? I haven't seen Horror High in years. What year was that? I do remember it, though. There was a point in the 90s where I was watching, 1973. Yeah. Have you guys seen April Fools? I remember watching that as a kid and liking it. And for some reason, I don't know how old I was. I guess I was a teenager when I watched it for the first time, but I thought the girl of Muffy was hot. I did. I thought she was hot. Now that I've said it, I'm like, I got to see what she looks like now. April Fool's Day, I mean. Yeah, it was called April Fool's Day, the movie. Let me see. Muffy. Who played Muffy? Muffy. I think it was Muffy, wasn't it? Wasn't there? Oh, there you go. Muffy and Buffy. Oh, I forgot they were twins. Deborah Foreman. That's so funny. I don't know why. I look at her now and I'm like, she's attractive. There's nothing wrong with her. But for some reason, when I watched that movie, I was really into her. That's so funny. Yeah, April Fool's Day is fun. April Fool's Day is fun. No, I don't think it's 1989. I think it's not 1989. I think it's 86, isn't it? Yeah, it's 86. Yeah, 86. Return to Horror High had George Clooney in it. Oh, really? Frank Riker says Return to Horror High had George Clooney. That's funny. And now I got to watch that. Solid Nefarious says, got to admit, 80s made the best movies and music. Well, I think it's all relative. I agree with what you're saying. There definitely is a lot of that, but I think it's all relative. I think if you were a kid in the 90s, there's going to be a lot of 90s films that you're going to hold close to your heart. If you're a kid through the 2000s or a kid right now, you're going to look back. Yeah, a lot of it is relative. But definitely there's something special about the 80s. There's something really special about the 80s in terms of its music, in terms of its pop culture, in terms of its movies. Yeah. There is something really special about it. Okay, a couple more minutes here. David Ferguson says, I also read somewhere they were planning on remaking Escape from New York as a trilogy. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Interesting. Nathan Oswald says, live stream keeps going offline. Oh, does it? Nathan Oswald says the live stream keeps going offline. Is it going offline for everybody else? It looks pretty stable to me. Usually I see when it conks out and I have to refresh the page. But hopefully for everybody it's been pretty stable. Frank Riker says we're good. Rich Moore says looks okay to me. Yeah, it might just be your connection maybe, depending on where you are. That's always possible. Solid Nefarious says, thanks for the live chat. Can't wait for Hallowstream 3. Yes, Hallowstream 3. Yeah, it's always fun to talk with Mike and Jay at We Watched a Movie, and Lee McCoy, of course, of Drum Dums, and Cody Leach of Cody Leach. It happened to me a couple of times, but I'm good now. Stupid internet. Yeah, it could be my feed at times, but usually if it's my feed, I see it. Sometimes it might be your feed and you just see it. It might, if you're in the basement or if you suddenly go from outside to inside, who knows, right? These connections have to go to space. All right, one last question here and then we'll wrap it up for our very first patron-only live AMA. I thought, you do an hour, keep it tight, but I'm hoping to do this once a month for all patrons. So I appreciate everybody who's joined in. So we'll make this the last one here. What do we got? We got, okay, David Ferguson. What do you think of Axl Rose taking over briefly from Brian Johnson as vocalist with AC/DC? I don't like it. I think it's time that AC/DC pack it in. AC/DC is my favorite band, always has been, always will be. I think it's time for them to pack it in. I understand Angus Young's reservation about that. He made the band, but AC/DC is a shell of what they used to be. Malcolm is dead now. Cliff Williams, I think it's Cliff, right? He packed it in. Brian Johnson had to pack it in because of his hearing problem. Phil Rudd is, well, we know what happened to Phil Rudd with the legal issues and the shit, going on there. So I know they have, is it Chris Slade, the drummer? I know he came back. And I know they have Angus Nephew or whatever doing the bass now, but they're just a shell of what they used to be. It's time to pack it in. In 1980, when Bon Scott died and Brian Johnson took over, well, AC/DC was relatively still new, and they had just started to break into the North American market, the Hollywood market, right? So they could do it. Over 35 years with Brian Johnson, you can't do it anymore, man. He's so identified now. It's too ingrained in stone. Pack it in. Call it a day. And then maybe in a few years, when we let Brian Johnson's hearing maybe heal a bit, or maybe he gets some devices to help him out, maybe they can do like a reunion tour. Not a lot, a couple of shows, or maybe a reunion concert or whatever, and you get the band back together. Fine, but it's done. It's done now, man. Axl Rose is Guns N' Roses. He's not AC/DC. That's all I have to say about that. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining us here on our very first live AMA for patron members only. I really appreciate it. Just a reminder, for those who may not have heard, excuse me, at the beginning of the video, Saturday movie night, which at the very moment is only once a month, is going to be open to level 3 and 2 patrons now. So if you're subscribed to level number 2, which is $5 a month, you guys will now be able to tune into the live feed for Saturday movie night. However, the voting is still only exclusive to level number 3. But we'll see what happens, right? We're always evolving on this channel. So look out for that. I will let you guys know when our next Saturday movie night will be. A reminder to level number 3 patrons on the feed, Thorazine Episode 8, the Halloween-only live AMA, is this Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, in the meantime and in between time, I will talk to you guys soon. I appreciate your contribution to the channel, and I appreciate your passion, as I do. I think you guys are awesome, truly. I mean, I don't know what other people have in terms of their patrons or their subscribers, but I'm always amazed at the passion and the level of respect and contribution in terms of being a part of everything that you guys are. Sincerely, I mean that. Again, I can only speak for what I see on my channel, but I think you guys are awesome. So until next time, I will talk to you guys soon. And remember, if you don't see your name at the end of my videos on the patron cards, let me know right away. It's just got lost in the mix. It's not like we were like, delete. No, it just got lost in the shuffle. So let us know right away, okay? Yeah, so in the meantime, I will talk to you guys soon. Getting ready to go off here. All right, I should get ready beforehand. All right, I'll talk to you guys soon.